Orange, our conversations about diversity here in Central Florida. And my guest today is Abeoler Lewis. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me today on Diverse Orange. It's nice to be here and talk about a little bit about diversity.
Great. Well, let's talk about you. Tell me about your heritage.
Well, originally I am from Trinidad and Tobago, so culturally we are, I would say, a huge melting pot of cultures. My personal background, my father's Indian, my mom's African. In Trinidad and Tobago, we call that a dogla.
What's
um,
the word?
Dogla.
Okay.
And it's a pretty common cultural mix. So I would say heritage wise, everything that falls under the Indian, traditional Indian and African umbrella, plus adding the Caribbean dynamic to it as well.
And when you say Indian, do you mean people from India?
Yes.
All right. And so you grew up there?
Yes, I was there until I was 18.
Okay. And what brought you to Central Florida?
Central Florida happened because of my sisters. My older sisters, there's actually quite a gap between my siblings and I in age. I was the later on sibling. So between my eldest sister, there's about a 14-year gap. Um,
You were the surprise blessing.
yes, I was the everyone's grown up and I have an empty nest. So between my older siblings, it's like 14 to 16 years difference, and they were already here. They moved here, and my mom wanted to relocate here as well. I was the only one, we were both the only ones not in Florida at the time. So then we just made that decision to join them as well.
And how was that transition? What was it different from the where you grew up?
Oh, definitely. I grew up in a very small, there's the city tourist parts of my island. I grew up in the polar opposite. I grew up in a small area called Gasparillo Village. It's on the southern part of the island. It's mostly uh, farming, a lot of farming, a lot of crop. And that's primarily what our area is known for. We have a few interesting things now, but at the time, then specifically, yeah. So I just grew up with forest and farm and animals. That was my surroundings. And then your, it's funny, when I originally moved, it was to St. Cloud. So it was a different type of rural, but it was still that similar feeling. And then I relocated to Orlando because of it was easier for my work and just living. Everything was more convenient. And that's when it was a shock. It was a bit more hectic and a little busy. Um, but it was a nice change as well, being around so many things and having conveniences that I never, that never existed. Um, it was interesting.
And here, did you find uh, a new community, a more diverse community, or did you find a community like you and case stay in that?
So here in Central Florida, there's not a lot of people from my country specifically. They like to gravitate towards Miami, New York, but there still was that familiarity of a lot of people from the Caribbean, from all the other islands, from Haiti, from, you know, Dominican Republic, from Jamaica. So it was nice having that when I relocated you know, to Orlando. Um, that didn't really exist in St. Cloud. St. Cloud at that particular time also was still very like you come outside and your neighbors were cows. um, So it was nice having other people around and also the opportunity to explore cultures that I was not familiar with at all. And I had never really interacted with people from those cultures. So it's been like a learning experience in that way as well.
What things have you picked up or learned from other cultures that you want to incorporate in your life?
Definitely when it comes to, I've especially working, I've worked in a lot of, Asian kitchens. And something people always joke about my culture is we lack like seriousness and discipline. We're a very laid back culture. We tell you 4 o'clock and we really mean 10. But the discipline and the focus that I've learned from other cultures and like consistency, that's something I'm like, you guys, come on, we can do we can do this. Um, and also one thing I've liked seeing here from some other cultures, is their commitment to their culture and sort of highlighting those cultures and giving those cultures a platform. That's something, whether it's their music, their dance, their food, they push really hard for those things here in Orlando, for it to have a platform, for it to be seen. And I feel like that's something my own culture we do not really do. Um, so I wish that's something we did a bit more of.
What is some food item from another culture that has become a favorite of yours?
When I discovered pho, oh my goodness, I'm used to that Caribbean really thick soup with like yams and potatoes, and I'm actually not a fan of it. When I discovered that there were like these brothier soups with noodles and all, I was like, oh my God, why didn't no one told me about this. And then something extremely American, but everybody laughs when I tell them, pie. So whether it's pumpkin pie, apple pie, in my culture we don't make sweet tarts or pies. We make like fish, meat, beef pies. I never had a pie that was sweet till I got here, and I was like, pumpkin pie. No one had told. I think I ate because that Thanksgiving was my first one. It was 2014. I think I ate the equivalent of like maybe a year's worth of pie that season. It was such like a surprising discovery that no one had ever put me on to pie.
And Thanksgiving wasn't a holiday you celebrate there, it's an American holiday. What
Yes.
are holidays that you bring from your heritage?
Definitely in my culture, which is a little bit different from American tradition, we celebrate, even though you're not a part of a particular religion or a particular background, you still celebrate those with everyone you know. So Eid al-Fitr, Diwali, we have our own emancipation celebrations. So, Christmas, everybody does. It doesn't matter whether you're Hindu, or Muslim, or Christian, you celebrate all. You celebrate all of it. Chinese New Year, all of it. Um, and so that's the one thing I try to keep, is that, I've done that my entire, life up until this point, and I try to do that still, is celebrating everyone else's culture and traditions from my home, but also here as well.
What is one of your most favorite elements from any particular holiday?
It's always the food. I always enjoy the food. I think I'm a foodie, so the food from every holiday. I look forward to that segment of every holiday. I'm always sitting there waiting, like, what are we going to have for this holiday?
Great. Well, this Thanksgiving holiday, I hope you'll be at Fusion Fest and enjoying foods from all over the world and all kinds of heritages.
Yes, definitely. And it's always interesting to see how other people celebrate. For my family, for Thanksgiving, it was something we learned being here. So we're like, we don't know the traditional Thanksgiving foods. So we try to create our own versions of Thanksgiving foods, and it'd be interesting to see what other people's interpretations of that holiday is.
Yep. Great. Well, thank you for joining us here today, Abeoler. And thank you, our viewing audience, for tuning in to this edition of Diverse Orange.
Thank you for having me. Bye.